Welcome back to another super exciting episode of Southern Sorcery. I'm Shane.
And I am Daniel, and today we are checking out the brand new Limit Break Precon, which is helmed by Cloud, ex-soldier.
Cloud, as you know, is from Final Fantasy VII. I think as the cult following that Final Fantasy has, 7 seems to always be at the top of the list as people's most favorite game, or at least story. But this deck revolves around equipment. You can go a couple different ways with it. Voltron, equipment matters. But this is a great precon. Another in the series of the Final Fantasy precons we're doing for our deck techs, which we're also doing giveaways for. Whoop whoop. So Daniel, won't you talk about like Cloud as a commander, like what he does?
Yeah, so when Cloud enters, you attach up to one target equipment you control to it, and then whenever Cloud attacks, you draw a card for each equipped attacking creature you control. And then if Cloud has power 7 or greater, you can make 2 treasure tokens. So we've got a way to cheat out some equipment whenever he enters, and then draw cards. And we've got quite a bit of creatures in this deck, so we could potentially be drawing quite a few cards a turn, and then we're making some ramp or making treasures. So that this commander kind of does it all, which is great. You want to see that in the command zone. So this one's pretty exciting. I'm jazzed about it.
Yeah, same. Like I said, Cloud, he's just infamous, kind of synonymous with Final Fantasy. Even if you're not like a fan of the games, you probably have seen Cloud, or at least his insanely big Buster Blade sword, the sword that looks like it weighs 9,000 pounds. Yeah, very iconic.
It has to weigh 9,000 pounds.
Yeah, it really, seriously, like how he swings it around like that, let us know in the comments. Is there lore behind that? If you know how he's able to just unless he's just super strong, let us know in the comments. I'd love to learn more about the story of the games and stuff. Played these when I was a kid, but that's 20 years ago. My memory has since faded. Hit us up in the comments. As always, please, to enter these deck techs or these giveaways, make sure you like the video that you're on, subscribe to the channel, and then obviously just make a thoughtful comment. Say something about the deck that you like, that you didn't like, maybe an ad that we did that should have been, or a takeaway. Or even if you want to talk about Final Fantasy, since that's what we're here for. This is Universes Beyond. This is the biggest set they've ever done, and not one single item has actually went from the cash register to person's hand yet. It's already broke all the records. So yeah, just talk about
for sales anyway.
Yeah, exactly, for sales. Yeah, so yeah, let us know about some Final Fantasy stuff. Just be thoughtful in your comment, and that's all you got to do to enter. Easy as that. Yeah, so let's talk, Daniel, about why everyone's here. Final Fantasy. Let's talk about the new cards that are specific to this deck, and if you want to start with the new artifacts, we can go there.
Yeah, we've got a handful of new artifacts here. I'm going to butcher the pronunciations. Full transparency, I've really never played these games, maybe once or twice as a kid, but have not played these, so I'm going to butcher these names. But the first one is Conformer Shuriken. It's 2 for an equipment, and the equipped creature has, whenever this creature attacks, tap target creature a defending player controls. If that creature has greater power than this creature, put a number of +1/+1 counters on this creature equal to the difference. So this seems pretty fun and seems pretty legit. Equip cost is 2, so you can equip it to whatever creature, go to attack, and then you just tap down their biggest thing, and then your creature becomes the same power and toughness as the thing you tap down. You're going to put that many +1/+1 counters on it. So this one's pretty good. I think this could easily also be slotted into some +1/+1 counters type decks as well. Things that are going to run branching evolution. So you're going to put twice that many counters on. So this could get out of control. I think that's a fun one.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of decks love to see Voltron decks, +1/+1 counter decks, aggro, even heavy decks where you can where combat matters likes to see this because the tap down effect. So yeah, a lot of utility here.
Next we have Summoning Materia. This is 2 and a green. It is an artifact equipment. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. As long as this equipment is attached to a creature, you can cast creature spells from the top of your library, which is nice. Access to some card advantage. And then the equipped creature gets +2/+2, has vigilance, and add a green. So it turns it into a mana dork. So this isn't a mana rock, but it kind of turns your creature into a mana dork, as well as giving you card advantage. This also seems pretty solid, especially in an equipment deck.
Just a wall of useful text. This is just like a utility equipment through and through. It does a little bit of everything, which I really find enjoyable. This is another card that I think we'll see a lot of play in other commander decks.
Yeah, I think so too. This will slot into several other things. Just like I can go to combat. I don't don't need to swing because this creature has vigilance, and then I can use him in my second main phase as a mana dork. Like, that seems really good.
Yes, absolutely.
Another new one is Wrecking Ball Arm. This is 2 colorless for a legendary artifact equipment. The equipped creature has base power and toughness 7/7 and cannot be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, so no chump blocking with your 1/1s. And then the equip cost for a legendary is 3, and otherwise it is 7. So expensive to equip to a non-legendary, but you're probably going to want to put this on our commander anyway in this deck, especially because Cloud's ability to make those treasures cares about him having power 7 or greater, so this automatically gets us there.
Yeah, and then with this deck and throughout all the other decks, any of the named characters that they brought in as magic cards, they're all legendary, so like most of the creatures,
There's a lot of legendaries.
There's a lot of, yeah, exactly. So like you'll be able to find a home for this equipment for the cheaper cost more often than not. After that, we've got some new instances that I'd like to talk about. We've got 3 of them. The first one being Cloud's Limit Break. So this is a direct call to a mechanic within the game where they had limit breaks, where once something would reach this power bar, and this is just me vaguely reaching back into my memories, but once the bar reached its like max value, they could do a bigger attack. And so if I'm butchering that in the comments, you can let me have it. I deserve it. But Cloud's Limit Break,
for sure. Same.
Yeah, his Cloud's Limit Break is 1 and a white. It has an ability called Tiered, which is pretty unique. And so you've got 3 modes. You've got Cross Slash, and you get to choose one, add the additional cost. So it's almost like the spree cost they did in Outlaws with Thunder Junction. Yeah, Cross Slash is free.
Spree, you could do them all though. I think it wasn't limited to one. Tiered is you can only choose one of them.
Spree, you get to choose one extra.
If you had the mana, you could just choose every mode.
Just go crazy with it. Yeah, Cross Slash for 0. So if you want to pay nothing, destroy target tap creature. Blade Beam for 1 generic, destroy any number of target tap creatures with different controllers, so you get to hit, some different opponents, which is kind of fun. I like the commander nod there. And then Omni Slash, which is his super powerful move. 3 and a white, destroy all tap creatures. So pretty cool card. It's different. It definitely is going after people who are shields down. Say like the token player swung out at somebody and you want to clear their board. This is a card to do just that. So
get the aggro. This is definitely an answer to aggro players for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. After that, we have Lifestream's Blessing. This is a new instant. It is 4 and 2 green for an instant that says draw X cards where X is the greatest power among creatures you control as you cast a spell. If the spell was cast from exile, you gain twice X life, and it has Foretell, which will put it in exile, so that's where that comes into play. And the Foretell cost is 4 and a green as opposed to 4 and 2 green. And you can pay that. If you pay 2, you get to basically morph it in the Foretell zone. Where it's kind of out of the game in exile. Great card draw mechanic for this deck specifically because you're going to throw a bunch of equipments on, several of your equipment. You're going to have, a 10 plus power pretty easily. So that's 10 cards, possibly 10 life. Overall, I think it's a really good card for the theme of this deck.
Yeah, I mean, our commander comes in, gets an equipment onto him immediately for free. So, it's probably already going to be close to that. You want him at 7, so like, minimum, this is probably going to draw 7 cards, and then if you foretell it, you're going to gain probably 14 life, which, especially in a mid to late game, this could really swing the tide in your favor, just being able to pull your life total that much further away from, potentially what everybody else's is. Plus, drawing 7 cards is, and you can do it at instant speed, so it's like,
it's great.
Which is great.
Yeah, absolute win. Following that, the last one, and this kind of is a recurring thing within the Final Fantasy games as a whole. This Ultimate Magic, I don't know, disclaimer here, I don't know much about this part of it, but the Ultimate Magic kind of recurs, I think, throughout the games is like different like abilities.
Yeah, there's other cards. Even in this deck, there's another new card under Sorceries that's Ultimate Magic. This one's Ultimate Magic Holy.
Yes.
They all start out Ultimate Magic, and then it's something.
Yeah. So Ultimate Magic Holy is 2 and a white for an instant that says permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So Shades of Heroic Intervention. If the spell was cast from exile, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn, which is really nice because you can foretell this as well. So nice to see the foretell mechanic get a little bit more love. Kaldheim was really about the end of most of the good foretell cards, so it's good to see this get circled back some more. I mean, just a great protection piece. This card will absolutely see play elsewhere because it's just like a heroic intervention type thing where it gives everything. Plus the fog ability is super sneaky when it's foretold, like no one kind of sees it coming.
Yep.
After that, we have our sorceries. Just want to cover that real quick since I was on the topic of instants. There's only one, and just like Daniel alluded to, it's another ultimate magic. This one is sorcery speed. This one is ultimate magic meteor. It looks like it's just a giant meteor blast about to hit the earth, which is kiss our butts goodbye, I guess. It's a sorcery that says ultimate magic meteor deals 7 damage to each creature. If this spell was cast from exile for each opponent, choose an artifact or a land that player controls, destroy the chosen permanents. And then you can foretell it for 5 and red. It's funny because the foretell costs.
Yeah, so this, I think, is meant to kind of be a one-sided board wipe, as like our creatures should be more than 7, because that's kind of like what we care about. So there are several ways for us to get creatures past 7, and we will probably only have a handful of creatures out at a time. This is not like a go-wide strategy here at all. So if we have 2 or 3 creatures and both of those are, all of them are over 7, we'll survive. Everything else will go, and then we get to be super mean and destroy an artifact or a land. So, land destruction. Let's do it.
It is what it is. Sometimes there's pieces out there like a Maze of It that could be tapping down your big Voltron-y creatures, so you got to do what you got to do. Now, for the last piece that I want to talk about before we dive into the creatures is just the new enchantment, and then we have a ton of creatures to cover that are new. But we have an enchantment called Soldier. This is like the program that Cloud and Sephiroth were all kind of a part of, I think. Soldier military programs, 2 and a white. It's an enchantment that says at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. But if you control a commander, you may choose both instead. So it's like kind of like the wills, like Jessica's will. Akroma's will, stuff like that. You can either create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, or you can put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 soldiers you control. So it's pretty cool. I think it's nice, slow to the ground. If you are going the route of Voltron, this is a way to kind of like, got my commander out, that's my Voltron piece. Now I'm able to make like little pinger, little blockers with this 1/1 mechanic, and then you're going to just keep putting +1/+1 counters on your commander because he's a soldier. So it's, I think it goes in this deck. It's a really nice piece.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a way that we can get Cloud up to the 7 that we want him to be at anyway. This is repeatable. It's on every combat on your turn, which is nice to see. It's not like a 5-drop enchantment, so it's not terribly expensive. And there are a couple of other soldiers in here. So, if one of those is out, you can choose that one too. But as Shane said, it's mostly for Cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. He wants to see other people attacking with equipments, but at the end of the day, this can very easily be a Voltron build where like Cloud is your main, like that's who I want to attack, that's who I want to make sure is big and beefy and is doing most of the work. So yeah, I agree with you that that's definitely a piece for Cloud.
Yep, and that will take us into our new creatures. And again, like Shane said, there's a bunch here, so we'll run those down. We'll butcher the pronunciations, and you guys will correct us in the comments, which is great because we're just 2 Southern boys and we don't know how to speak Final Fantasy all that well.
That's right. Yeah, they need to make like a Final Fantasy Southern, like Eastern Tennessee edition where it's like
just me and you saying the names.
Yeah, exactly. Like Daniel, Shane, I could do that all day. But Aerith, for instance, like, who's named Aerith? Well, this lady's named Aerith. Aerith, the Last Ancient. She is Cloud's love interest, I believe. I don't remember. But Sephiroth kills her, spoiler alert if you haven't played the game. But she's a pretty vital character in the game. I know, man. He's just a big bad, probably one of the most famous big bads in all the video games. But again, just to reiterate, all these creatures, for the most part, are going to be legendaries. So there are a ton of potentials here for just their own version of a commander deck.
Decks.
Yeah. So you got a lot of stuff to choose from. She is a human cleric druid. A lot of words for her creature type. Lifelink, and she has raise as an ability. This says at the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If you gain 7 or more life this turn, return that card to the battlefield instead. I like the nod to 7 because this is all revolving around Final Fantasy 7. But a cool mechanic.
Which segues great.
Yeah. Yeah. Just agreeing with what you're saying. Yeah, it does segue great.
Oh, yeah. Segues great into Avalanche of Sector 7. A human rebel with menace, Avalanche of Sector 7's power is equal to the number of artifacts your opponents control, which we hope is 7. Then whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact they control, Avalanche of Sector 7 deals 1 damage to that player. So this punishes mana rocks, all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah, great card. Seems very flavorful, too. Just with all the 7s, and then just of all the pieces that it does with in conjunction with the 7s. Like, yeah, I like this card a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of 7s there.
Yeah, following that, we've got Barrett. This is the Avalanche leader. 2, a red and a green for a 4/4 legendary human rebel. He has reach, so he can block as if he had flying. And then a mechanic called Avalanche. Whenever an equipment you control enters, create a 2/2 red rebel creature token. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to target rebel you control, which is nice because we're going to run a slew of equipments in this deck to bounce around.
Next up, we have another Barrett card. This is Barrett Wallace. It's 3 and a red for a human rebel that has reach. Whenever Barrett Wallace attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of equipped creatures you control to defending player. So if we've got a few creatures out and they're equipped, which Cloud already wants to see, for our card draw, Barrett Wallace is going to punish our opponents for that.
Again, just when like reading these, it's just so funny to me because like all of these could be like standalone commanders so easily because their abilities are relevant to this deck, but they're also so like just a tinge unique that they could easily pivot into their own deck so easily. The next card we're going to do is Bugenhagen, Wise Elder. Bugenhagen, whatever your poison is.
Yeah.
1 and a green, legendary human shaman, reach, can block as if it had flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a creature with power 7 or greater, there's 7 again, you draw a card, and then he's also a nice little mana dork because he can add 1 mana of any color for a 2-drop, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, super good card draw, which, again, we want to meet that criteria for the commander, so that seems good. Next, we have Kate Sith, Fortune Teller. This is a cat Moogle. 3 and a red for a legendary artifact creature. It has the ability Lucky Slots. At the beginning of combat on your turn, scry 1, then exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you exile a card this way, target creature you control gets +X/+0 until the end of turn, where X is that card's mana value. So we can temporarily buff something up, giving it hopefully 7, and then we can go to combat and draw the card off Cloud. Again, this is just another way to buff some stuff around us. We get to scry and then look at some cards, and then a little bit of card advantage by being able to play that card this turn. So a nice little value engine here.
Yeah, absolutely. This deck has like several payoffs for the thing it's trying to do, so that's why all these are still like relative to the theme of the deck. Following Kate, we've got Sid, the free flyer pilot. Looks like he's just jumping out of a plane, which is awesome. 1 and a white,
spear and nothing else.
Yeah, no parachute, just straight up being dropped out of a plane.
I don't need it.
I'm good. I got this. 1 and a white, equipment and vehicle spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, which is nice. And jump, which just plays into the artwork, great. During your turn, Sid has flying, which makes sense. And then 2, you can tap and return target equipment or vehicle card from your graveyard to your hand. Just great because you're going to want to keep like really nice equipment pieces that people are going to try to remove. This has a way to recur and has a way to reduce cost, which is just great value.
After that, we have Elena, Turk Recruit. It's a human assassin for 2 and a white. When she enters, return target non-assassin historic card from your graveyard to your hand. And if you don't know, artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are all historic, so we'll be able to get equipments back, so more equipment recursion. But also we can get, potentially, again, there's a ton of legendaries in this deck, so we can go back and get another creature maybe that's died that we want back, or even the sagas. And there are some creatures that are sagas now in Final Fantasy. That's a new thing that they're doing now. And then whenever you cast a historic spell, put a 1/1 counter on Elena. So anytime we're casting those equipments, it's going to bump Elena's power up. So this is also another pretty good value piece and recursion, which is great.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, we've got Heidegger. Shinra. Whatever. Shinra, Heidegger. Yeah, Shinra Executive. This guy looks like he does a lot of business. 3 and a white. He is a human soldier. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn. Excuse me. Where X is the number of soldiers you control, which is relevant because most of these creatures have that soldier subtype in their creature type. And then at the beginning of your end step, he's just going to make you soldiers. You make a number of 1/1 white soldier creature tokens equal to the number of opponents who control more creatures than you, so he keeps you in the race with board states that might be trying to go wide against you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, again, we don't. We do have 24 creatures, but like the goal for us isn't to go wide. So this definitely kind of covers our tails against some of the go wide decks, which is fun. After him, we've got Hella Trooper, 1 and a white, a human soldier that has flying. Whenever this creature attacks, another target attacking creature gains flying until the end of turn, which is nice, so we can get some damage through. Equip abilities you activate that target this creature cost 2 less to activate, so it's a little cheaper to equip the Hella Trooper than our normal costs.
Yep, I like that. And this was definitely one of the common enemies you saw a lot of in the game when you were like going through the different levels and stages. So pretty cool to see this in the deck.
It's also one of the very few non-legendary creatures, but that makes sense because you beat up on these guys through the course of the game.
NPCs, you know how they do. After that, we got Professor Hojo. I love that name. 1 and a green for a human scientist. He just looks mad, like like,
yeah, no, he's insane.
Oh, absolutely. But he's got a great mechanic. The first activated ability you activate during your turn that targets a creature you control costs 2 less to activate. So it just feeds into an equipment style deck, like great. And then whenever 1 or more creatures you control become the target of an activated ability, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. But for as cheap as he is, I think it's a pretty cool mechanic. It's not overly broken, but for that mana curve to get something out that fast to start like reducing stuff where you're gonna basically like activate like that, to me is like that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't know how much like activated ability we have in this deck that this is really gonna benefit. So I'd say Hojo will see some play in some other decks that have a little more, or a commander that specifically has like high cost or something along those lines. But man, the artwork here, it's crazy. And then, card draw is good. There's a lot of 2-drops that draw cards when this happens, and things like Welcoming Vampire, and you see that the triggers only once each turn, because otherwise they would just be so broken. Next up, we've got Red, the 13th XIII Proud Warrior, 1 and Gruul. And it's a legendary creature, which is a beast warrior. It looks like a dog, but his tail's on fire, so I guess he's just a beast, or maybe it's a cat. I can't tell. It's a beast warrior. It has vigilance and trample. Other modified creatures you control have vigilance and trample, which is great because counters count as modified, equipment count, and auras count as being modified. So we've got counters, we've got equipments, and so we're going to be meeting that. It's going to give us vigilance and trample, which is great because we're going to be able to get tons of damage in, and we're going to be able to swing everything because they all have vigilance, so we'll still have blockers. And then he also has a surprise, there's more. Yeah. Cosmo Memory. When red enters, return target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. So yeah, this one, for 3 mana seems really good, especially once we've got a board state going.
Yeah. The power creep is very real. Everything is just a wall of text, like multiple abilities, utility out the wazoo. Like they went over the top with it, which is pretty cool. Next up, we've got the big bad himself. This is right before he betrays everyone, but Sephiroth, the Fallen Hero. 3 red and a white for legendary creature, human avatar soldier. We've got Genova Cells mechanic, which just says whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may put a cell counter on target creature. Until in return, each modified creature you control has base power and toughness 7/5 bananas.
Gross.
Yeah, because that's going to be their base, so those equipments are still going to basically now go to that point. So if you had a 1/1 with equipments on it, now it's a 7/5 with all those equipments giving it more love.
Yep.
So that's
and then red's going to give it vigilance and trample.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the reunion. It's like all these other creatures. There's more. 3, you can sacrifice any modified creature, so a creature with a counter on it or equipped. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tap. Just bananas how he can recur himself like that. I can definitely see people building this as a standalone deck with just how powerful that
100%.
Yeah.
So good. Next up, we have our first Saga creature in this deck. This is Summon Kajata? Kujata? I don't know. Either way, 5 and a red for a enchantment creature Saga Ox. It has trample and haste and is a 7/5, which is great. You love to see it. It's already there. It's a 7. But it is going to function like the normal sagas where it'll go away after the 3 chapters. And so the first chapter is Lightning. This creature deals 3 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures, so we can ping some stuff. And then the second chapter is Ice. Up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn, so we're going to be able to get through a whole bunch of damage, hopefully. And then the third chapter is Fire. Discard a card, then draw 2 cards. When you discard a card this way, this creature deals damage equal to that card's mana value to each opponent. So very versatile. We'll have to see how these creatures end up playing out. I'm not sure how to feel about them, just because, I mean, 3 turns seems like a lot, but this is a 6-drop for a creature that will go away. So there's a ton of utility here. So I think they are trying to make it like worth it by giving you a 7/5 essentially with like 3 sorceries stapled to it that go off automatically. So I think, as far as mana goes, the value is going to be there for these. What do you think about these, Shane?
Yeah, these new sagas, and I talked about it in the last deck tech too, they're just, sagas been around for a while since the Theros block, and I think they've constantly tried to make them better each time they do an iteration of them. I think with these, each deck has, I think, a form of like one of these sagas where it's like an ox. I think one of them was, it's like always an animal for some reason. I'm not sure why. Mm-hmm. Someone in the comments helped me out with that lore. I like it. Honestly, I think it's pretty cool. The utility alone, I mean, like when sagas first came around, they were like, scry 1, next piece, scry 1 again, next piece, draw 1. It's like very low to the ground. Now they're just these powerhouses.
Yeah, now they're these.
Yeah.
I guess if you think about it from like, hey, all we really did was we turned an enchantment into like a body as well. So if you think about it like, okay, if there was no creature on it and you just took the bottom part away and it's just an enchantment saga, it's like, okay, well, that does some stuff. But then you just like, well, let's just staple on this hasty trampler that has a 7/5. So then it's like, oh yeah, I'll take that on my enchantment. But if you think about it from like, well, a 6-drop for a 7/5 creature that does some stuff, I guess it depends on like if you're looking at it glass half full or glass half empty. So it's like, okay, yeah, if you look at it like this is an enchantment that also gets to be a creature for a couple of turns, it's like, well, that makes it a little more worth it.
It's just a cherry on top, exactly. Like it's just like, how can we make these sagas like even more fruitful? And then like honestly, since it's got the enchantment, like any of those enchantment style decks that run reduction, like, I mean, imagine like getting this guy out on turn like 2 or 3, open board, you get a 7/5 that's doing some stuff. Oh man, yeah, it's just unhinged.
Yeah, you've got an enchantments cost 2 less or enchantments cost X less to cast. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
Next up, we've got another crowd favorite. This is another popular character from Final Fantasy VII. This is Tifa, martial artist. This is probably the most common like cosplay I see from most like Final Fantasy like cosplayers. But Tifa, martial artist, she is 1 red, green, white. She's a Naya, and she's a human monk, legendary creature that has melee. Whenever this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each opponent you attack this combat. Pretty cool because Cloud is wanting you to attack with like people with equipment, and she's out as well. She wants to see diversity in attacks, so I like that. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control with power 7 or greater deal combat damage to a player, there's that 7 again. I love how they keep going back to that. Untap all creatures you control. If it's the first combat phase of your turn, there's an additional combat phase after this phase, so she can definitely like close out games by giving you multiple combats. That melee ability can really like help build up how big she gets. I think again this is another commander you could obviously switch it out for this deck, build her on your own. I think just did a great job with this card as well.
Yeah, this is the backup commander for this deck, and I do feel like they did a good job with this, where the backup commanders sometimes are drastically different from the face commanders, and they don't really buy into what the face commander does, and it's like, well, this would be a really good commander for a different deck. That is true for this. This is, like you said, but also really, really synergistic with this deck, I feel like. It cares about power 7, and like you said, this could be the closer for this deck for sure.
Absolutely.
After that, we've got Vincent, Vengeful Atoner, 2 in a red for a legendary creature assassin that has menace. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on Vincent. And then he also has chaos. Whenever Vincent deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage divided to each other opponent if Vincent's power is 7 or greater. Pretty unique. It is chaotic. I think that's pretty cool.
I like it. Chaotic. It's red, mono red. So if you're gonna go chaos, like I love that. The artwork is just it's badass. He looks so cool. with that that gun,
Yeah.
like in the cape. Like that's really cool. That'd be an awesome playmat to have.
Oh yeah, for sure, especially for a red deck.
Yeah, for sure. Following that, we've got Yuffie, Materia Hunter. For 2 in a red, she is a human ninja with ninjutsu, a mechanic that we've seen a lot of with ninjas, so this is very flavorful. Ninjutsu, I'll explain this real quick if you haven't seen this. It's a really cool combat trick where you can return an unblocked attacker you control to your hand, so you've declared combat. They declared either no blocks, they had no blockers, or you had something that was, evasive, had unblockable, what have you. When something comes through unblocked, you can then you can play this cost of 1 in a red to put this card onto the battlefield from your hand tapped and attacking. So it does a little switcheroo. It's a way to get around her normal casting cost of 2 in a red. And then most of the Ninjutsu type cards have ETB effects, and hers is when she enters, gain control of target non-creature artifact for as long as you control Yuffie. Then you may attach an equipment you control to Yuffie. I mean, pretty bonkers.
That's crazy. That all happens in the middle of combat. That's
Yes,
bonkers.
It is. Yeah, Ninjutsu, I love. It's one of my favorite mechanics in the game of Magic.
It's so good.
Yeah. And then her ability just hits the board, and she's just like, "Hey, I see you have an Ozolith. I want that Ozolith. I want to put +1/+1 counters on Cloud."
That seems good.
Yeah,
Give me that.
yeah. I mean, that's thievery at its best.
Yeah, and then you get to attach an equipment for free.
Why not?
So if you have
Yeah.
Colossus Hammer,
Sure. Let's. Yeah.
like what? For free, I'll just equip this Colossus Hammer.
I know the whole theme. I literally
And now it's a 13/13.
Yeah, the whole theme of this that you when you said it earlier, it snapped in my head. It's so true. Every one of these creatures so far that I've seen in the Final Fantasy Commander decks, it's like you can always say, "But wait, there's more." Like it applies to every single legendary card. Like,
but wait, there's more.
I know, it's so good.
Yeah.
And then after Yuffie, we have Zach Fair. This one is maybe one of my favorites in this deck. It's a human soldier legendary creature for 1 white mana. This is from the main set, so you'll be able to pull it out of packs. But he enters with a 1/1 counter on it, and then you can pay 1 to sacrifice him. Target creature you control gains indestructible until the end of turn, and then put Zach Fair's counters on that creature and attach an equipment that was attached to Zach Fair to that creature. So this is a really good early game play. He's a soldier, so you can put the soldier military program counters onto him. This, if you get him out early, you can attach any of the equipments that we have out onto him early, and then whenever we get our commander out, we can swing out with him, sacrifice Zach Fair, give our commander indestructible until the end of turn, put those counters on there, and then attach an equipment that was attached to Zach on there. So it's really a nice piece, I think, especially in this deck. Yeah, this just seems really good for 1 white mana.
yeah, and it's an uncommon, like an uncommon legendary commander that should be fairly accessible and cheap. It does all that work at uncommon is great. I think, yeah, absolutely great.
Yeah, we may see it in some pauper decks. I'd be interested to maybe build that myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's get into the piece that was very difficult for us to do, and that's just the cuts and additions. I say it's difficult to do because you guys just heard us go through a list of almost 30 cards that are new and specific to this commander deck alone. I'm just going to go through what we added and what we took out. Not necessarily a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm just going to, as far as the removals, I'm just going to, just say like what we removed. So don't think of it as like I added this to remove it for this specifically.
Right.
But the first card I want to talk about is Akiri, Fearless Voyager. I wanted to add Akiri because it's just, directly on theme with what we're trying to do. This is 1 red and a white for Legendary Core Warrior. Why not add more legendaries anyway? Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. A ton of stuff's going to be equipped. It's great to draw. You're not really in the colors to draw. You're missing blue, so like this is kind of like a substitute for one of those really good like draw pieces. And then a great piece here is you can pay 1 any number of times you would like, and you may unattach an equipment from a creature you control. If you do, tap that creature and it gains indestructible until end of turn, which is great. Protect our board. We have tons of pieces that we can basically like save with this, like with targeted removal or like board wipes. So I think this is just great. A great addition. And the first cut we did was Bastion Protector. Just took that out. Not a terrible card, just I think all in all, this is just giving our commander a plus and indestructible, so Akiri can come in and give everything indestructible as long as it has an equipment on it. So I thought that was a better change.
Yeah.
After that, added Arden, much to that effect. These were the only 2 creatures we added, Akiri and Arden. This is another core from the plane of Zendikar. 2 and a white. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipments you control to target permanent or player. Yes, you heard that right. So right before I go to combat, I'm going to throw everything I have on Cloud, giving him mechanic soup, and I'm going to swing lethal at you. That's exactly what Arden can do in any type of deck that runs equipments and auras. Also a very cheap add too. You're talking about like for $1 rare to throw in here for something that's just that busted. And then we removed Decimate was the next card we cut. Just better removal stuff out there is why we cut Decimate.
Yeah, the next one we added is an equipment. This is Bloodforged Battle Axe. It costs 1 and it has an equip cost of 2. The equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you create a token that's a copy of Bloodforged Battle Axe. We thought, you know what? Let's make more equipments. Cloud cares about other creatures being equipped, so we can either equip the copies to Cloud to get him to 7, or we can equip them to our other creatures so that we can get the card draw payoffs. And, you know, in an ideal world, we get to do both of those things. We're just making copies of Bloodforged Battle Axe, and then that creature can swing and we can make more copies of Bloodforged Battle Axe. I think is how this works. So yeah, Bloodforged Battle Axe is a great include here. For that, we took out, I mean, again, we're not taking them out 1 for 1, but our next subtraction was Harmonize, which is a 4-drop to draw 3 cards. We added in a little bit of card draw, so we thought we would take this one out, as the other card draw we added just does more for us and fits into our game plan. The next ad we added was Bridgeworks Battle. This is an MDFC, so if you need it to be a land, it can be, and if you don't need it to be a land, then you get target creature you control gets +2/+2 until the end of turn, and it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So it is a buff and can be a piece of removal.
I love MDFCs. I think it's a mechanic that can really take hold in a lot of in a lot of formats, not just Commander. It's like, you know, it really takes away the aspect of like late game land flood. Like, please don't be a land, please don't be a land, please don't be a land. Like, it really like kind of shapes that in a different like mindset, which I like.
Yeah, I agree, and especially in these precons where, honestly, I was disappointed in the mana bases in these. I thought they could have done a little bit more. They are very much just a standard precon mana base.
Yeah.
And so replacing some of these tapped lands with MDFCs is great because you still get land if you need it, but then it can be something else, more utility otherwise. So it makes them easy to slot into these decks for sure. And so for that, we took out the Hellkite Tyrant. Hellkite Tyrant can be really good, but it's a little mana intensive, and then it doesn't have haste, so it takes a minute to get going, and so we went ahead and cut him.
Yeah, it was a fringe cut. Like, there are definitely ways to win with this card. I think it's just people see it coming from a mile away, so inherently it doesn't really do anything to directly affect the theme of the deck, other than the fact that it's like, oh, I finally was able to get up to 20 artifacts, I win the game. I think by the time you get to that point with how this deck is built, you've already won with all the equipments you have out, so I think that's why it ended up being cut.
Yep.
After that, we added another enchantment. This deck only comes with 2 outright, so this is just the third enchantment that would be in the deck, and that's Fighter Class. Just a great enchantment for decks that want to see combat and equipment and just things in that nature. And it has 3 levels. The level 1 that it starts with, when Fighter Class enters the battlefield, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Out of the gate, being able to tutor like that is huge. Go get the answer you need. Go get the finisher you need. Yeah, absolutely. Level 2 is great because if you level it up for just 3 mana, 1 red and white, equip abilities you activate cost 2 less to cast. That is a very healthy reduction. A lot of our equipments are sitting at 2, 3, 4. Like, so you're talking about like now you got free equipments, you've got 1. Like, makes life a lot easier. And then just to close out a game, if you leveled up 1 more for 3, a red and a white to level 3, whenever a creature you control attacks, up to 1 target creature blocks it this combat if able. So you can just force combat. That way you can just like wipe their board out, stuff that they would like normally like.
You get to choose.
Yep, exactly. So it's great. I can really clear the board for you to get the win. And then for these with these classes, if you don't know, as you level things up, it doesn't mean the previous levels goes away. That means that you just get access to the next level. So the next removal we did was just a Jungle Shrine. With access to green, this deck has, you know, the typical built-in ramp pieces. So I figured with that, you know, it's okay. We can ramp in enough basics to where we don't need tap lands. So we did remove 4 lands from this is the only land we removed with no MDFC in mind. The other 3 lands we did remove, which you'll see here, we did remove with MDFCs in mind. So we did kind of a 3 and 3 out of those. So next piece I want to talk about that we added, Sigarda's A. This is an MVP enchantment. I mean, I get why they probably just didn't auto include it because it is somewhat of an expensive card. You can find these from like $7 to $10. They're not going to break the bank per se, but they're not, dirt cheap either, but they're so good. For 1 white, 1 measly white mana, it's an enchantment, and it says you may cast Aurora and equipment spells as though they had flash. So now you get instant speed on type of stuff. And then the key word here, since it's got instant speed, well, Shane, I can't equip if it's not my turn. Well, wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. Busted. Just such a good card. Like, has stood the test of time.
Yeah, so exactly that what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, I'm just going to equip this Colossus Hammer at instant speed right now because I can cast it for 1 or maybe free if we were using our fighter class.
Yes, yes. Easy as that. It's such a good card. I had to include it. Very low-hanging fruit. I'm sure any deck tech you watch that talks about it's going to make its way. It's that good. You can't ignore it. It's just, it is what it is. You just got to put it in there.
Gotta have it.
Yep.
And then we took out Radiant Grove, a slow fetch that comes in tapped. And then our next add was Steel Shaper's Gift, another measly 1 white for a sorcery that says search your library for an equipment card, reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So for 1 mana, we get to go get whatever equipment that we want or need for a given situation and get it into our hand. That way we have it to cast. So a tutor for equipment. And it's also pretty much an auto-include in any equipment deck.
Yeah, it's great. It's uncommon at a 5th Dawn.
Yep. It's such a good piece.
Yeah.
And for that one, we got rid of the Sacred Peaks, the other slow fetch that comes in tap. And then our next ad was Stump Stomp. This is an MDFC.
Stomp,
I love that name. Stump Stomp.
Stomp, stomp.
And the artwork is funny too because it's just like a massive tree getting ready. It reminds me of Lord of the Rings when
Treebeard. Yeah.
When Treebeard stomps that orc trying to get Merry and Pippin. The sorcery side of this MDFC is target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to a target creature or planeswalker you don't control. And with Cloud and other very large creatures, we should be able to get rid of almost anything with that sorcery side. And then the back side is a land that taps for either green or red. Multicolor land on the back, which is great.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then for that, we actually removed Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp is a really, really good artifact equipment. This deck, though, doesn't run a lot of 1/1s, so there's not a lot of targets for Skull Clamp to be used for the card draw, which is essentially what you want to use Skull Clamp for. Skull Clamp simply as an equipment for, let's say, our commander isn't great. It gets +1, -1, and then whenever the equipped creature dies, you draw 2 cards with an equip cost of 1. Again, Skull Clamp is a really good card, probably a top 5 equipment all time. Just we wouldn't be able to utilize it to its potential in this deck.
Yeah, great card, just needs a different home in this build. This is a card you want to put into like a deck where you're making a bunch of 1/1s tokens, and you can just kind of like chain like draws together as you like produce mana.
Yes.
In this deck, it just seemed out of place. Love the new artwork for it though. It looks really cool. And then to close it out, the last 2 ads we had is our last MDFC. This is Sundering Eruption. On the land side, you can pay 3 life to have it come untapped. If you want, it taps for red. Otherwise, it comes in tap. But more importantly, for the sorcery side, it is destroy target land. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. So just more utility. Wait, there's more. It's just such an underrated card, in my opinion, to close out a game where you are so combat focused. Because that last piece, creatures without flying can't block this turn. That'll catch so many people off guard. If they don't have a bunch of flyers, you're just going to be able to swing in and absolutely decimate, hopefully close out the game. And then just also targeting a land that's bothering you that could Maze of Ith, something that's just being abusive, a Cradle. There's just so many ways to get rid of that type of threat. So it's an easy ad in my opinion. When these MDFCs are like that powerful, in my opinion, it's just a very easy ad.
Yeah, I would pay the 3 mana for that. So it's not like the sorcery is overcosted for what it does.
No, not at all. Like 3 mana, to potentially win the game.
Yes.
Or just take somebody out that's a threat, that you don't really have an answer for.
Yep.
Like they've got a huge board state, so it doesn't really matter that all my equipment creatures are huge. They've got 7 million, 1/1 blockers, so it's like
Yep.
Yeah, I did take out Trailblazers boots. This is not a terrible equipment. It's just sometimes you can whiff on it. Sometimes you are playing people in a pod that have basic lands, and so it just becomes a dead card. So I thought because of that, and it's probably more often than not you will see non-basics, but I just thought because of that there was just better stuff to add. And then last, I did splurge a little bit on this card. This is not the cheapest equipment, not terribly expensive either, but the Reaver Cleaver. This card is just too good not to add in a deck that wants to run equipments. 2 in a red for a legendary artifact equipment that says equipped creature gets +1/+1, has trample, and whenever this creature does combat damage to a player or planeswalker, create that many treasure tokens. It's just so good. It can take over a game by itself, given how big.
So good.
Yeah, given how big our creatures are going to get. And side note, I did not add this. Daniel and I spoke about this last night when we were going over some of the tech ideas. If you wanted to get an infinite thing in here, you're in the right colors for it. If you added an aggravated assault with Reaver Cleaver, and you put it on a creature that it's going to be at least 5 or more, you can essentially have infinite combats that way. I say that it's great for this deck because you've got the white, so you're going to be able to go tutor for equipments like crazy. You've got Enlightened Tutor. You're going to have just so many ways to go find both of those pieces. So if you are looking for an infinite way to close the game out relatively quick, like your ultimate goal will just be, I'm going to go find Reaver Cleaver, get it equipped, and then I'm going to go get Aggravated Assault, get it out, and I'm done. That is a good way to like run this type of deck and win pretty consistently. And then the last piece we removed was our last land, Wooded Ridgeline. This is just a tap land that taps for a red or green source. Just like I said, we took out 3 of those lands for the MDFCs, and those were just obvious because they come in tap. They're slow. But that's it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the deck. That's the deck. That's the deck. You might want to cut that. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Are there any, we didn't talk about this at all. We obviously restrict ourselves to a budget. Is there anything that you felt like absolutely should go in here that is not like a budget include? Like, is there like a non-budget, like who cares about budget card or two that you think just would be amazing in here?
Yeah. Any of the extra combats.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you're good. Any of the extra combats are going to be, they're all pretty expensive. Like I probably would add tutors. I would have add like Enlightened Tutor. Anything that I can go get specific equipments for. They are expensive, but I think in this deck they are necessary. If you're going to build it with no budget in mind.
Yeah.
I say that, but they're not like key. You can run the deck without them, obviously. But like adding an Enlightened Tutor, adding like the Aggravated Assault, adding other tutors that you can add. You've got Gamble that you can add. You've got Worldly Tutor that you can add. So like any way to go find these pieces to get those lines, because there are very easy lines to run to where you can like chain together multiple combats or infinite combats with the right pieces. Like that's probably what I would have went with as a package of tutors and extra combats.
Gotcha.
And then they all do have a, you're talking about $20 and up for most of those pieces, like the Worldly Tutor, the Enlightened Tutor, Aggravated Assault.
That eats up your $50 very, very quickly.
Yes. But that would be my package that I would have like pivoted to, given like no budget build.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd ask that.
No, good question. Yeah, I definitely looked at some stuff. I was like, well, if I spend my whole budget on 2 cards, or if I stretch it to 10,
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Please like, subscribe to enter into this giveaway. I know these decks are holding a premium price, so our goal here is to give back to you guys. Hopefully someone wins this deck that's just like, man, I just can't afford it. And, we just want to give back. Like I said, that's the name of the game for us. We love to give back to the community. Hopefully, as we grow, we can do more of these. Maybe do 2 giveaways in one. That's the goal.
Yeah,
so
give away a couple.
as we grow, we will.
That is the goal.
As we grow, we shall grow to our giveaways. So follow along with us.
Yes.
Come along
more
on
giveaways.
More giveaways. More power.
More.
But yeah, thanks for watching. Daniel, send us home.
Again, we are doing these giveaways. We will do worldwide giveaway. If you're in a country that's not the United States, feel free to go ahead and enter. We'll either ship it to you or we'll get you like the equivalent of a gift card or something along those lines. We'll sort that out. But yes, it is worldwide, these giveaways. So everybody enter. Check us out on all of our social medias. We're everywhere that you can find us. We've got those links, our link tree and stuff in the description down below. And we will see you guys in the next one.
Yep. Thanks so much. Bye.